Today we got a bunch of new details on Anthem's next patch, thanks to BioWare's most recent developer live stream. The next patch is planned for March 12th. This is very much a bug fix, quality of life improvements, some gameplay modification improvements update. This is not a content update, and I think this is a great opportunity to also sort of lay out the plans that BioWare has for the next 2 months of Anthem, and kind of help you guys set your expectations accordingly based on what they talked about on stream today, because I think a lot of people are expecting like this big wave of content already. You know, they want all of this stuff to happen at once. They want all these massive overhauls to the gameplay experience, and Anthem's just not in a place for that to happen. This is very much a time for BioWare to buckle down and to really sort out these bugs, make improvements to quality of life where they can, whether those are the small changes they're going to be making as quickly as they can or the big changes they're going to be making over time. Like, that is where their focus needs to be, and I've talked about this in other videos before. I'm happy to see that being their current focus. So the next time we're going to see like new content making its way to Anthem, it's going to be the Elysian Chest at the end of March, and then there's going to be new content making its way into the game in April, alongside of the stuff on the roadmap. So stuff they haven't talked about plus the stuff on the roadmap. They still want to keep doing like these micro world events they've been doing, but otherwise their focus is on bug fixes, quality of life changes. Don't expect a bunch of content getting thrown at the game just now. And I know there's a bunch of people who are under the mindset of, oh, but everybody's just going to leave and then the game's going to die. It's better for people to leave because there's nothing to do, and then to come back when the game is in a much better shape than it is now, than for BioWare to just try and fix everything at once, try and make all these changes at once, and then to just further break the game and to make the experience even more frustrating than it can already be, and then really drive people away and really dig themselves into a deep hole. This is a time for them to slow down and to think about the changes they make and make quick turnarounds on the changes they can make quick turnarounds on, and really focus on the right decisions for the bigger ones. And that's what I think this whole Devstream really spoke to, and I'm happy to see them going that route. So let's talk about some of the changes coming March 12th. First and foremost, they have been able to hunt down multiple issues that may have been causing the PlayStation 4 reset and crashes, and they feel like they've resolved as many of those issues as they possibly can, and that they have been able to deal with those big hard resets happening for PlayStation 4 users. So that'll be happening on the 12th, getting people back on their feet if you're playing on the PlayStation 4. There's also a bunch of fixes happening for respawns, a bunch of other small fixes just happening throughout the game. They basically looked at wherever they had instability issues in the game, and they tried to fix as many of those things that they could fix in the time that they had in order to push this patch into certification so it could be ready for the 12th. So again, full patch notes on the 12th. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of wonderful little micro fixes that are going to do away with as many of the crashes the game has as possible. I can't imagine they're going to fix all of them, but some are better than none. Now, in terms of actual gameplay changes, there's actually some cool stuff happening here. Again, a lot of quality of life, so they've removed respawn restricted zones in as many areas of the game as they can. So if you're playing with randoms and no one's rezzing you because you're in a respawn restricted zone, that's no longer a concern. You're going to have 30 seconds for your team to res you if you are playing with a group of friends, and then after that, you'll be able to just respawn and get yourself back into the game on your own. So no problem. You'll be good to go, and I think that's just going to make playing with randoms a lot more enjoyable than it currently is. They've also went ahead and made improvements to many of the broken Masterworks in the game. So Masterworks that had weird like ability rolls on them that were like 0 or negative, they've managed to fix a bunch of those for the 12th as well. When we talk about actual gameplay changes, they have acknowledged the issues with Grandmaster 2 and Grandmaster 3. So I know a lot of people want to know about like the scaling and the rewards happening there. They've just been pretty clear that like they're not ready to make big changes to that yet. And while I know a lot of people just want to see them add more loot into the equation, I don't think that's the answer, because there is still the time commitment problem. Like, completing a stronghold in GM2, specifically in GM3, takes a lot of time. So to balance that out by increasing Masterwork drop rates or increasing Legendary drop rates isn't just going to be some like easy, one button thing. I also like the transparency they had on the stream today, where Ben was like, listen, we have an idea as to what we'd like to do with the overall time commitment and the difficulty curve from GM2 to GM3, but we also want to listen a little bit more to community feedback. We want to spend time on like the subreddit and the forums and see what people have to say. He even basically said, hey, you guys on Reddit, if you can put together one consolidated post so we can see like everybody's feedback, that would be great, and then we can start to work our way through this. So again, they're not rushing on the things that need time, and I appreciate them not just making sort of gut snap decisions that could just make the game worse than it is when we talk GM2, GM3. Now, one of my favorite changes as a big old Colossus lover is that we've got recovery time decreased for the Colossus for all heavy hit reactions. So, when you get knocked out of the air because you are now overheated, you have a much quicker recovery time. They demonstrated on stream. It looks way fast. There's not this huge long animation if you bump into a wall anymore. This is going to affect, again, all heavy hit reactions. So if I get like knocked out of the air when I'm dealing with an Ash Titan, I'm not going to have like this big like 10-second recovery. It's going to be much more snappy now, and I think it's going to make the Colossus feel just much more agile when it's really mixing it up in close quarters, where it functions really well the majority of the time. So pretty stoked on that one. They're also increasing the base damage of all Masterwork weapons. They acknowledge that Masterworks, especially in Grandmaster 2 and 3, do not feel as strong as they want them to feel. They still like that their game is an ability-focused game, but Masterworks have to do more damage, plain and simple. So this is what that is all about. Boom, increase the base damage of all of those Masterwork weapons. I agree with this. There's just some guns, even in GM1, that just feel like blah. So really quite excited to see them overhauling that. They did acknowledge some of the audio issues, and again, this kind of goes along with the list of instabilities and fixes, and they said, like, we have encountered essentially multiple things causing this problem, and we've sorted some of them out, and hopefully it's going to fix the audio issues for the majority of players. So again, not like a full-blown, we know it's fixed, but we fixed multiple things that were causing that issue, and hopefully it's going to be fixed for as many people as possible. So I guess that's as good as that's going to get. Now, they've also went ahead and added in a random stronghold quick play option. So we talked about this. We were all kind of like, you should just be able to queue up for a random stronghold. There's no bonus available for doing it right now. They do want to add a bonus, much like quick play for missions, but it is at least there. This is, I guess, good. I think the bonus is really important, but I do think that there is a group of people who actually just like the idea of running the strongholds at random, especially if they're on lower difficulty levels. It's nice to have, but they got to get that bonus in there as soon as possible. Like, there just needs to be an incentive. Like, right now, a lot of people are going to want to do everything they can to avoid, like, the Heart of Rage and some of those more difficult strongholds, especially on GM2 and even on GM1, so that bonus has got to be there. It's got to be significant, and I still think unique bonuses for the different strongholds based on their difficulty, unless they're going to start scaling the strongholds and making them less difficult so they're more evenly scaled in terms of challenge, is something that I would also like to see. Now, they've also went ahead and improved melee and ultimate scaling on Grandmaster difficulty. Again, this is something that they acknowledged when you get into GM1, GM2, GM3, your melee and your ultimate doesn't really do as much damage as they wanted it to do, so they've scaled those things up. You're going to notice a change in your overall gear score because of this, and now your melee and your ultimate should be far more effective across those 3 Grandmaster tiers. They've also made a big key fix to Windwall. So Windwall was previously blocking the Ranger ult. They've removed that, but alongside of Bulwark Point, they've also increased the damage absorption for both Windwall and Bulwark Point. They now last a lot less longer. You're going to be looking at 20 seconds rather than 60, but in that time, they're going to be able to absorb much, much more damage. This is great, because the whole 60 seconds for Bulwark Point and Windwall, it was useless because they both got destroyed in like 5 seconds flat. So if I can even get 15 of those 20 seconds out of my Windwall or my Bulwark Point where they're actually absorbing damage, that's going to be fantastic. I mean, if you look at something like the Ursix, even on hard for some people, or even on GM1, one rock throw can tear down a Windwall or a Bulwark Point. So hopefully this will no longer make that the case, and we can actually use these in defensive, crowd control and support situations where we have people who play the Ranger and the Storm who actually want to, provide some proper support to their team. I'm pretty happy about those changes. Last but definitely not least on this list is white-green drops have been entirely removed for anyone playing level 30 or above. So once you hit level 30, that's it. There is no above level 30, but you get what I'm saying. Once you hit level 30, you no longer have to deal with white-green drops. You're only going to be seeing blues, purples, legendaries, masterworks. No more whites and greens. That doesn't necessarily mean they increase the drop rate for masterworks or legendaries. They haven't, but it's going to be nice to finish out a GM2, GM1 stronghold, legendary contract and never see a white or green ever again. Even in the open world, when you're opening chests, you're never going to see a white or green again. That is fantastic. And that wraps up everything they talked about on stream today. Again, there's a whole big fat patch notes list that's going to be coming out around March 12th. We'll definitely be checking that patch out. Not so much the patch notes, since it launches the same day. We'll play it and then we'll kind of talk about how those changes feel the day after that. But that does it for me, guys. If you have any feedback, any discussion you'd like to create around these changes that are going to be happening on the 12th, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I'd really like to reiterate what I said earlier, though. I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated that there isn't content coming very soon, but this is very much the right path for BioWare to take. If they want to be committed to the consumer and to the community, they need to pace themselves. They need to look at the big issues, and they need to look at the issues they can fix now and not just try and fix everything at once. Take it smart, and don't just start throwing fixes at problems that maybe don't even need fixes right now. I think they totally get that. I think, if one thing that has really been showcased with their handling of launch, it's that they're not going to just start rushing into things and making things worse. They acknowledge that there are problems with the game. They acknowledge the big issues that the game has, and they're looking to fix them, but they're also not going to just ham-fist it. So, appreciate that. And that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.